Well, it's in their best interest. It's always in your best interest to continue to cultivate and develop the talent that you have made an investment, not only in draft pick, not only in resources, in time. It would be in their best interest now. They have a lot of faith in the new wide receiver coach that they have, that he can add something to Dez's game, because they don't have a number one receiver. Like, you can't have Super Bowl aspirations, have the way the team is built, and not have a guy that you can go to, a guy you're expecting to get 1,200 yards, a guy you're expecting to get 7 to 10 touchdowns, and you're not going to have that on Dallas's roster if you cut Dez. Dallas, they should have been talked to Dez. It shouldn't have gotten to April. It shouldn't be to this point. They should have talked to Dez before free agency opened up. Now, the reason why they could only be a limited participant in free agency, that's because of their salary cap and their salary cap restrictions. But they should have been talked to Dez. This is not a conversation I would be wanting to have with an owner. You know, where people have talked about it in the media, oh, he needs to take a pay reduction, and it's going back and forth, back and forth. Typically, these meetings don't go well for the player.
I want to ask you a hypothetical question, so please indulge me on this, because I want to know what you think would happen in this scenario. Jerry meets with Dez and Dez's agent. They talk about that pay cut. They talk about what you've talked about. Hey, you can get the money back with incentives. Like, here's what we're going to do. Because Dez is a $16.5 million cap figure this year. $12.5 million in salary, a $6.5 million cap figure. And if Dez and his agent flatly say, no, not a dollar less, I am playing only under this contract, your only other option is to cut me. That is it. If they will not give an inch, what would you do if you were the Dallas Cowboys?
Start packing his stuff.
You would?
Yep. Start packing his stuff.
So you would? You'd be willing to cut Dez? Okay. That's what I'm asking. You'd be willing.
Why am I having a conversation? Because, like, you can't put a gun to a guy's head unless you're willing to do something with it.
Yes.
Like, why are we having the conversation? I haven't seen the owner, Jerry Jones. If Jerry Jones decides he's going to have a conversation with you about money, Jerry Jones is going to win that conversation. He's going to win that. And you talk about what leverage does Dallas have. What leverage does Dez have? Dez is worth more in Dallas. Dez's brand is worth more in Dallas. All Dez knows is Dallas.
Agreed, which is why I think the logical solution for both sides is to do the type of contract you've talked about. Reduction in pay, but you can get it back if you hit these thresholds. But I've learned too much over the years covering pro sports that we can't just say, oh, both parties are going to act logically. Both parties are going to say, we're going to do what is logically the right thing here. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Dez and his representation would say, no, we'll call your bluff and see if it's a bluff. Now, you're saying it's not a bluff.
Okay. Look at the salary cap. Look where you can go to get $12 to $15 million. Where else can Dez go?
Almost nowhere.
Oh, okay.
Almost nowhere, and certainly nowhere with the branding of Dallas, and certainly nowhere with the championship aspirations of Dallas. Teams that have that type of cap space, I mean, San Francisco might, the Jets definitely do, Cleveland definitely does, not places.
Wow.
Right. No,
that's warm and fuzzy.
But the flip side to that question is, and if I were Dez's agent, what I would be saying is, okay, you're right. Where can he go get that money? You look at the free agent wide receiver market. Where can you get even this lower level production? Where are the 900-yard receivers, 7 touchdown receivers, which what Dez has been?
Sometimes you get caught up in that, and sometimes you lose your job. All right? You try to overplay your hand. All right? Jerry Jones has all the cards. To trying to think that Dez has some type of leverage after, oh, not a 1,000-yard season this year. Oh, not a 1,000-yard season 2 years. Oh, not 1,000 yards in 3 years. Like, come on, man, let's get real. Let's get real. You're not worth $16 million. Let's come to an understanding. I love the Cowboys. Dez is better off served in Dallas. I believe he can get back to 1,000 yards in Dallas. It was hard enough for Dez to get comfortable in Dallas. I just don't know how quick he can get comfortable somewhere else. And there's not that type of money out there.
Is there something to read into and why this has been such a delayed meeting? We've been talking about this for months, about this conversation. Why have we waited so long? If we know Jerry Jones and the Cowboys want him to take a pay cut, and we know Dez Bryant doesn't want to take a pay cut, We all know everything. Why are they waiting so long? I don't know if that's part of the play.
Well, a couple things have happened. Dallas went through the rest of their roster. They made some adjustments in contracts so that they could get under the salary cap, get more salary cap dollars. And they participated with Allen Hurns in free agency. They signed a couple other players. Their biggest question hadn't been about Dez. It's been about DeMarcus Lawrence, the defensive end, franchising him. So it's just a business NFL timing thing.
And if the Cowboys are run well from a front office perspective, and they have been the last few years, what I think also probably happened was they do their own prognostications about what free agency is going to look like, what guys are going to sign for. And I would imagine one of the reasons they wanted to wait, because you would think waiting hurts the Cowboys, because of the point I'm making. Unless their analysis showed, well, what's going to happen is you're going to see receivers who have been far better than Dez sign contracts for far less than what we're paying Dez, and that helps our argument more. That helps.
And those spaces get taken.
So there's less.
Those dollars get used. So you have less spots that you can land.
Right.
I mean, I don't see it. Based on what I've known from Bill Belichick, how he, from a defensive standpoint, first of all, how he likes to attack the quarterback. He knows football as good as any coach has ever played, and I don't think that he thinks that the running quarterback is coming back. And so I would be shocked by that. I think that his skill set, and I could be wrong. Belichick could surprise me, but what they've done, how he's attacked offenses, what they do offensively, as quick as they get the ball out of the quarterback's hand, as quick as anyone in the NFL. Now, that's not just a Tom Brady thing. That's how they run. When Tom hadn't been in there, they still ran the same system with the same types of reads. So it would be interesting if they took him to see his overall development under one of the greatest football minds ever. But I don't see – I feel like he's a better fit in New Orleans. They have Tom Savage there backing up Drew Brees. I don't believe that they're looking at him to be the starter, so they feel like they don't have their quarterback of the future in place. New England, I believe they will get their quarterback of the future in this year's draft. I don't think it's going to be Lamar Jackson. Just everything I know about Belichick and how he does things, I just believe he would target, and he's never drafted a quarterback in the first round.
Never.
I just believe that he would target another type of quarterback to fit into his system.
Well, and you mentioned New Orleans as far as maybe best case for Lamar. I'm going to throw another team out that might not be best case for Lamar, but best case for the team that's to the back end of the first round in Jacksonville. A Jacksonville team that they're in bed with Blake Bortles, but they don't necessarily want to be there. It's a relationship out of convenience, if nothing else. And so there are other places that I think make more sense.
Right. The one problem with Jacksonville, when you have someone who has not established himself as far as a top 16 quarterback, you put immediate pressure if you draft a first-rounder like Lamar Jackson. And also, you put in a lot of doubt in Blake Bortles' head because you could also platoon those quarterbacks.
Right.
Blake Bortles doesn't want to do that. You could have Lamar Jackson run first or second down, do some wildcat stuff. So,
and for a team that right now thinks they're on the precipice, using a pick on a player.
They think they're as good as New England.
Oh,
they think they're as good as Pittsburgh.
That's a fair point. That's probably maybe the Jacksonville thing makes more sense if they weren't quite as good as they were last year.
If
they weren't,
if they were more in the developmental stage compared to right now.
Right. We think we can go make the Super Bowl. It's a great point. So here's the thing with New England and Lamar Jackson. I am one of the knocks on Lamar Jackson has been people don't think he's that bright. I don't know Lamar. I have no reason to say that's true. But what I think sometimes happens is people confuse eloquence and intelligence. I can tell you just
there is that.
There is that. Where if someone doesn't have great diction, or if someone doesn't speak the King's English, as Chris would put it, you think their mind isn't that sharp. Lamar certainly is not the most eloquent of the quarterbacks, right? I don't know that means he's not the most intelligent of the quarterbacks. Why am I bringing that up here? Because it seems like so much of New England's offense is about communication, checking at the line of scrimmage. So many things that if you are not the most eloquent of players, even if your mind can process all of it, I think that is a bigger bridge to a bigger gulf than for most players.
Nick, I'll give you an example. Randy Moss. And I'm going to tell you, as a football player and knowing X and O's, he is a football savant. He grew up in West Virginia. I grew up in Ohio. I have a little twang, a little on my diction. I've been fortunate that I've been able to get a lot of help, so it's not as pronounced. But growing up in different parts of the country, you can develop how you speak, and it could hinder your ability to be able to communicate. So Randy Moss, to me, is one of the best examples. Like, I didn't know Randy. I saw all the interviews of Randy, and then when I got with him, I was like, my goodness. I mean, he was a sponge for football, and the things that he knew, like, I would call him like a football genius. People, when I first said that, they were like, wow, I questioned it. That's why I knew he was going to be a great fit in New England, because I knew how much he knew compared to how much he could communicate.
Right.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.